Hey guys, welcome back. As many of you may know, I've been here in Dimension Quinn, tirelessly working away on my ultimate guide to Chapter House Dune video, and I decided that before I put out that video, I should do a preamble video to discuss some of the themes and philosophies present in that book. So without further ado, let's get into it. What now?
This is boring. If you're gonna keep me trapped here, at least talk about something interesting.
Philosophy is interesting.
Only to you. I want to know who has the biggest laser sword in Dune.
There are no laser swords in the Dune universe.
Or who can do the most reps with gravity cubes.
What series are you even reading? Because it's not Dune.
I know. If you put all the characters in a death match, who would win?
No organism that silly. Actually, maybe not. It might actually be interesting to discuss power in the Dune universe, but not in the typical sense, political or economic, in the sense of raw power and raw skill.
Finally, something interesting.
Okay guys, what do you say? We'll talk about philosophy some other time, but for today, there'll be a few minor spoilers in this one, guys. As I said earlier, power in Dune is not typically discussed in these terms, but considering the fact that there are several characters in the Dune universe who would seem superhuman if they were to appear in real life, maybe it's actually an interesting topic. So I thought it would be fun to rank the characters. Let's go from least powerful to most powerful. Also, I will only be discussing Frank Herbert's original 6 Dune books for this video. Number 8. The Lady Jessica. The Lady Jessica, mother of Paul Atreides, was immensely skilled, and even a standout among the Bene Gesserit. Jessica was one of the results of the Bene Gesserit's millennia-long breeding program. Her powers included voice, the Sisterhood's skill of manipulative speech, which would appear as mind control to the average person. She was also gifted in the Weirding Way, the Bene Gesserit martial arts, which allowed near teleportation in close quarters. Jessica's Weirding Way saves her life in the desert among the Fremen. Jessica's gifts also include all the Bene Gesserit powers of internal chemical control, which would make her almost entirely immune to poisons. Number 7. Alia. Alia was the preborn daughter of Jessica. She had all of Jessica's gifts and memories. The problem was, however, that Alia had difficulty managing the multitude of lives that lived within her. I've often said that Alia is one of the most tragic characters in Dune. There are other preborn characters which manage to control their inner lives with help, but Alia was abandoned by her mother, who feared her. With no one to guide her, she succumbed to the will of her inner lives. Her power is, in fact, ultimately a curse.
Huh, I guess power's not always a good thing, huh?
No, it's not. Raw power is often destructive, even to its wielder. Number 6. The final version of Duncan Idaho. The version of Duncan Idaho that appears in Heretics and Chapter House Dune is a long ways away from the Swordsmaster of the original novel. This Gola version of Duncan was trained by the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood and given access to all of their knowledge save the Arcana. In Heretics of Dune, the memories of his past self are awakened. Duncan even develops a form of prescience, which ends up saving him from being captured by the mysterious life forms known as Daniel and Marty. In addition to this, it is pointed out that this version of Duncan had been upgraded by the Tleilaxu, and no longer had the physical limitations of the version of Duncan which appeared in God Emperor of Dune. Number 5. Odrade. In the original Dune series, Odrade was a descendant of Paul Atreides, and a gifted Bene Gesserit sister, who eventually would become the Mother Superior. Odrade was immune to prescient power, as were all the descendants of Siona Atreides, due to Leto II's No gene. That means that she could not be seen by the Oracle. She also possessed the Wild Talent, a limited form of prescience, which guided her in times of great need. Odrade possessed all the powers of Jessica, only refined by thousands of years of continued Bene Gesserit genetic tinkering. Odrade is by far the most skilled Bene Gesserit sister to ever appear in the series. and it's more than likely, given Frank Herbert's writing style and the nature of the Bene Gesserit, that her power is actually understated. I can't wait to talk more about Odrade in my Ultimate Guide to Chapter House Dune video. Number 4. Miles Tegg. Miles Tegg is another descendant of Paul Atreides and Odrade's father. He was said to be the spitting image of the original Duke Leto, Paul's father. Like Paul Atreides, Tegg was taught the Bene Gesserit ways secretly by his mother. He was one of the Sisterhood's most valuable tools. In Heretics of Dune, Tegg's full power is awakened. After being tortured by the honored Matres, Tegg evolves into a new state of being. Single-handedly, he slaughters everyone in the Matre building, moving so swiftly, to all others he would appear as a mere blur. Once the Sisterhood recognized the potential of his genes, they had him brought back as a Gola after his death on Arrakis.
Slaughtering humans? Now this actually seems cool.
Organism, why do you hate me and my species so much?
Because you literally destroyed my homeworld with billions of inhabitants and imprisoned me here.
Oh yeah, I did do that. Anyway, number 3. The OG, Paul Atreides. Paul's powers of prescience were only second to his son. Paul was of course trained in the Bene Gesserit way and awakened by the spice essence in the deserts of Arrakis. Paul possessed the genetic memories of both his paternal and maternal ancestors, but everyone knows about Paul, so let's not spend too long on him. Number 2. Daniel and Marty. I chose to place Daniel and Marty at 2 because though they are obviously very powerful, we don't know actually how powerful they are in the original Dune universe. They appear at the end of Chapter House Dune and attempt to capture the inhabitants of the No Ship. They have some way of watching the events of humanity from afar, and seem totally unfazed by the goings-on in the Empire. It is heavily implied that the pair are hyper-evolved Tleilatsu face dancers, which freed themselves from slavery by gathering enough human memories to be able to outsmart their masters. I've actually done an entire video on Daniel and Marty, which you can watch here. Number 1, you guessed it, Leto II, the God Emperor. Leto, like Alia, was born into the world possessing all of the memories of his ancestors. As a child, he ventured into the desert and sought out legendary Jacurutu. It was there in the desert that he stepped forward on the path which would set everything in motion. Once his mind had been awakened by the spice essence, he joined with the sand trout, creating a living skin suit. It gave him the strength of 100 men, speed like no other. But this was not the end. The skin evolved and grew, and Leto developed into the worm god emperor. His body now produced its own spice. His prescient power reached to the end of time. His brain had spread out amongst his body and no longer existed in his skull. The pre-worm body could protect itself without him even consciously thinking of it. It would react to danger violently. His body was also immune to almost all conventional weapons. Many believed that Leto could not be killed.
So this guy becomes a worm for superpowers?
No, organism, to save humanity.
Why would anybody want to do that?
What?
What about Worm Girl?
Worm Girl? Oh, you mean Shiana Brugh, of course. She at least gets honorable mention. Shiana was a girl born on Arrakis after the death of Leto II. One day after her village is destroyed, she discovers that she has the power to control the desert worms. The worms obey her every command. Doesn't really count though, I mean, that only matters if you're in the desert.
What? That totally counts. If you're in a desert, you're toast.
I guess, but she doesn't really have an advantage anywhere else. Anyway guys, that's the video for today. Let me know what you think. Post your rankings in the comment section below.
Next time, do scariest monsters in Dune.
No, the next Dune video is Ultimate Guide to Chapter House. It's already been too long. I mean, of course, unless some new Dune news comes out or something. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you would like to support this channel, click the PayPal link in the description. Hi guys, there's just a couple of weeks left to be able to order my graphic novel Tadia. Get on that immediately. Link in the description.